Hello, School Transportation Nation. Excited you made it to the podcast. Brought to you by Transfinder, the leader in school bus routing. Of our friends at BYD Ride, committed to empowering education by providing safe, reliable, and clean transportation to our communities. And our friends at School Radio, your source for reliable radio communications. I have with me Mr. Ryan Gray. Welcome, Ryan.
Hey, Tony, how you doing? We had a nice 4th, and everybody out there in the nation had a nice 4th of July holiday. Kind of weird. We're right in the middle of the week, but, still good times.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Lots of family fun, fireworks, can't beat that. And we're prepping for Reno. STN Expo is upon us just in a few days. We're leaving. So we'll see everybody in Reno who's headed there. Excited for that. We got great turnout, record turnout, as well as a sold out trade show, 3 dozen workshops, 2 keynotes, our Transportation Directors Summit that's in Reno and then moves to Lake Tahoe. We got our Green Bus Summit, a full day of conversations around green energy, which is a super hot topic right now. I know our July issue just came out with Mr. Bill Griffiths, our winner of the STN NSTA Innovator of the Year Award for 2023. So congratulations to Bill Griffiths and Beacon Mobility on that accolade. And if you want to learn more about Bill, he is quite an interesting guy to unpack why he is the Innovator of the Year. Guys, go check out the July edition of School Transportation News up on the website at stnonline.com. All right, Ryan, I guess you're going to be talking with John Fergerson, Director of Transportation at Klein ISD in Texas. He's also the winner of the Top Transportation Teams Challenge hosted by Transfinder. I know he'll be on the panel building leadership and culture that Transfinder is hosting with us on Monday afternoon, which is July 17th, I believe. And they are going to really unpack all the winners of that top transportation teams. And so excited for that conversation because I have a feeling everybody really wants to aspire to be a top transportation team, Ryan.
Absolutely. Yeah. 6 winners from 4 states. Klein ISD, they're in the Houston area. They have another district in Texas, Garland ISD up in the Dallas area that's joining them. And they have some districts from Indiana and Michigan and New York joining them. So Antonio Civitella, who we'll also have on in a little bit. He's the president and CEO and founder of Transfinder, of course, good friend of ours. He's been on the School Transportation Nation podcast several times. He'll be moderating that session. It's a lunchtime session on July 17th, just coming up in a matter of days. So we'll get a little sneak peek under the hood of what that conversation will be.
Excellent. All right, before we dive into the headlines, we've got a message from School Radio. Hey guys, is reliable radio and communications important to you? Got a message from School Radio. The laws against using cell phones while operating commercial vehicles are in place for the safety and security of both your school bus drivers and your students. Taking that risk comes with a hefty fine, penalties, and even the disqualification of the CDL of the driver. School Radio specializes in providing wide area push-to-talk, two-way radio solutions for schools and school transportation that are fully compliant with all hands-free operational laws. They offer a managed service program, which includes the device, all services, all maintenance at a fixed monthly budget point. No expense infrastructure or FCC license is required. Get a demo today by visiting school-radio.com. That's school-radio.com. All right, Ryan, let's dig into the headlines a little bit. I know WRI, the World Resource Institute, released its kind of overview of green energy, the state of green energy in school transportation. You want to give us a little more detail on what that encapsulated?
Sure. So the electric school bus dashboard was published a couple of weeks ago, June 22nd. And it's basically taking an interactive approach to disseminating the information from these reports they do biannually. They did one at the beginning of the year, and this is their 6-month revisit of the state of electric school buses across the nation. So, really interesting stuff. Basically, they're looking at how many are currently on the road and then the number of committed school buses. So, committed, what does that mean, right? Committed describes a bus in 4 stages of adoption. So the buses that have been awarded, of course, we have, year 2 of the EPA Clean School Bus program that's at play right now. Applications being taken by the EPA for this year 2 competitive grant due August 22nd. So we got the first foray in year 1. So the buses that were awarded from that, the buses that have been ordered, that's the second stage of adoption. Delivered is number 3, and of course, operating. So as of June 22nd, give or take, 1,134 school buses on the road with a total of 5,986 committed to school districts, tribal governments, and local government agencies. Now, again, this is kind of, a guesstimation. And I've spoken to several school districts after this came out, and they've told me that, they're not listed in this report, but they have their school buses, their electric school buses in hand. So it's not a perfect science, but it definitely gives a very deep dive into kind of the state of electric school buses. So we're looking at 909 school districts and fleet operators across the nation that have electric school buses, encompassing all 50 states plus 5 U.S. territories. Something that was kind of interesting to me that jumped out was when you're looking at the school district adoption. I mean, you look at this map, and again, it's an interactive tool that you can find in our article at stonline.com. But you can really drill down, and you can get into specific states, specific counties, cities, even in the nation. There's a drop-down menu, of course, a map that you can zoom in and out of. And, you hover over it and it gives you a snapshot of what that district is doing in terms of its electric buses. Now, again, there are some districts that aren't listed here that already have their electric school buses. So, again, this is going to be a dynamic tool. It's going to be changing. Something else that's really interesting is they break down the school buses by fuel types, by state. There are more than 8 fuel types of school buses, diesel the most prevalent, of course, usually followed by gasoline. It mentions, propane buses were reported in 26 states and CNG buses in 12 states. So, it looks at the school bus ages. It looks at equity, which is a very big driver of the Clean School Bus program. In terms of race, committed electric school buses, 61% of school district residents who identify as non-white and or Hispanic, i.e., people of color. There's that 61% adoption rate in those areas. Looking at income, so the percent of school district households that are low level income, 37% of those areas have committed electric school buses. And then, of course, the other driver, this is all about trying to improve air pollution, right? So the school district average annual particulate matter 2.5 concentration. So 39% of the districts in those areas have committed electric school buses. Pretty interesting stuff. And again, it's going to be updated continuously. I think, again, the purpose of the WRI's electric school bus initiative is to kind of have a dynamic tool that folks can be looking at. So, you can go ahead and, again, check that out at stonline.com.
Yeah, right. I know what jumped out to me is I looked at the EPA Clean School Bus funding, right? And they cite in that study almost 100 funding sources have funded ESBs, right? So that was interesting. And when you look at their little chart, the Clean School Bus Rebate Program, 2383 was the total number, of which, 2233 was, I believe, what was awarded.
2383, yeah.
Okay, so 2383 was awarded, and I think it's really interesting to see the breakdown. And then California also in there with their incentive program, bringing up the second most, which, this is why California is kind of leading the way across the country. And then the VW settlement, which, gosh, that feels like an eternity ago, but I know a lot of people are still getting money from that
Yeah.
program, which is crazy, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's going to be rolling out for throughout, I think through even the beginning of 2024 in some places. So yeah, it really does a great job of providing a lot of information. Certainly a great tool that school districts could use, especially when school boards are asking them about electric school bus adoption, to kind of get a good sense of what's going on nationwide. And, also too, with STN Expo Reno, just a matter of a few days away, on July 18th, we're going to have a general session. That's trade show day. We're going to have the EPA back. They're going to be talking about Clean School Bus program. Of course, I mentioned earlier the competitive grant applications, that NOFO, if you will. Those are due August 22nd. So we're right in that wheelhouse, right? School districts, they're taking a moment to catch their breath after the last school year, and they're already ramping up for the next school year. So certainly a really busy time for school districts and now contractors as well. Contractors are eligible for the first time under this NOFO. And of course, this is also benefiting tribal governments as well. So a lot of work out there being done to get those applications set. And, one of the things to remember about this current grant is the EPA is really looking for volume now. With the rebate, they were looking to try to get school districts to start dipping their toe into the electric pool. Now they're really trying to get volume. They're trying to get, as much electric school buses out into fleets as possible. So, again, looking at this tool, we're going to see the numbers really start to ratchet up. And we know from the rebate in the year one, what it was at 98%, I think, of the awards went to electric school buses. Certainly propane is at play, and CNG, but really it's coming down to a race between propane and electric school bus. And a lot of folks that I'm talking to, again, there might be a clear winner right now in what the EPA funds are targeting, but really it's going to take a combination, I think, of both fuels. We have an article coming out in August next month, actually, in the magazine, where we're looking at kind of modern engine technology. And of course, that engine technology is moving toward that zero emissions electric school bus where there is no engine, right? But, so much of what's being driven right now in terms of procurement is the EPA and the state mandates. New York and several other states and local areas have already implemented, buy dates for electric school buses and dates when fleets have to be completely electric. So a lot of this is being mandated right now, and it'll just be interesting to see when the rubber meets the road, how this all plays out.
Most definitely. All right, guys, before we get to our interview, we got a message from BYD, our title sponsor at the Green Bus Summit. BYD Ride is committed to empowering education by providing safe, reliable, and clean transportation to our communities. The Achiever, BYD's Type A battery electric school bus, will be available to experience at the Ride and Drive. The Achiever can reduce our carbon footprint, eliminate pollutants, and create better air quality for future generations. Equipped with the latest technology, including V2G and anti-collision software, the Achiever is eligible for EPA Clean School Bus Program and many other state and local incentives. To learn more, go to ride, RIDE.co. That's ride, RIDE.co to learn more.
All right, I want to welcome to the School Transportation Nation podcast stage our special guest today, Antonio Civitella, a repeat visitor, good friend of STN, president and CEO and founder of Transfinder. And we have John Fergerson, the director of transportation for Klein Independent School District in the Houston area of Texas. Welcome, gentlemen.
Hello, everybody.
All right. Well, we're talking top transportation teams today. Transfinder rolled out earlier this year its inaugural top transportation teams contest, really. It was a survey that was developed by the company where they're looking at culture, right? We always talking about the school bus driver shortage, the labor shortage in general, how much of these shortages are driven by culture or lack thereof. So Transfinder really wanted to get to the nut of the issue here. And we have John here because he is representing one of our 6 winners from this Top Transportation Team Award. John's going to be on hand at our STN Expo Reno this week with Antonio. There's going to be a special session on July 17th, a lunch session where he's going to be sitting down with the 6 winners and talking about culture. So before we get into the conversation with John and finding out what they're doing so well at Klein ISD, Tony, why don't you tell us a little bit more about the award and how it came about and what it's looking to do?
Well, I'll tell you, it's something that we strongly believe in, is to understand employees, how they feel. And it's really, there's a lot of feeling about it. Really, people want to feel that they're accountable of what their responsibilities are. And we always want everybody to respect each other, not just colleagues, but obviously the management and the staff and the leadership team. But you don't demand respect, you earn respect. And that's how things work. And whenever there's some difficult situation, how well did the leadership team address it? Was it effective? And those are the things that constantly we think about. And of course, as a team, you always want to be part of the community. You want to feel like you're part of this team, and that's important. I got to go back a little bit, several years ago when Transfinder felt like, hey, we got to get better at our own team for really retention of employees and also to recruit some new ones. And so we started applying for tons of best places to work. And got to be honest with you, we didn't win all of them. Initially, we lost, and we didn't rank anything. So, but the advantage is those companies, those organizations provided us feedback. So we got feedback, and some of those things were a little bit good, bad, and ugly that made us realize, well, hey, we got things to fix here. So that was the advantage of actually getting feedback to find out there's definitely things that we think things are great, but when it's an anonymous survey and our employees are saying these things, well, we could just ignore it and just think everything's great or do something about it. So we did something about it. And so we're going after every possible best place to work in our region here in the capital region of New York. And we want them all of them. And we always look for what can we improve. So when we thought about this, as we're talking to our clients and really our prospects, that there's a significant challenge to recruit new employees, whether it's drivers or just really all staff. And also, there's other competitors that want our employees, of course, in transportation specifically. I don't need to mention companies that could easily just snatch the staff and go work there, maybe more money and so forth, right? So we thought, well, how can we help the retention and help our clients recruit? So this week we came up with a great survey. We have almost 30 different questions. It's a number, by the way, it's all numbers, a scale 1 through 10. There are definitely a few questions that they type in their personal opinion, how they feel about their employer, but it's all numeric. And when it came down to, after the nomination was over, about 100 school districts in North America actually filled out the forms with their employees, and very competitive. Holy cow. So we had to figure out, this is our first time we're doing this. What can we do? So we realized, well, to be fair, let's split the sizes for at least our first year. So we picked 3 under 100 employees and 3 over 100 employees. And so that's how we came up with 6 school districts. Not all of them, by the way, are Transfinder clients. I just want to let you know that it was really anonymous. And but we're super excited of what we're learning, and really speaking with people like John on how his superintendent, I know we'll talk about that, how they're completely given the team tons of pat on their backs. And but this is really our first year, so we can't wait to make this even better.
Absolutely. So yes, it's the inaugural award. Like you mentioned, 6 districts that won from 4 states. So we have Texas, obviously represented by John and his group there at Klein Independent School District, Garland Independent School District, a neighbor of theirs up in the Dallas area. And we also have Franklin Township Community School Corporation in Indiana. So those are the 3 over 100, and the under 100 are Marshall Public Schools in Michigan, Pembroke Central School District in New York, and South Louis Central School District in New York. So, John, Klein ISD, give us a peek into the operations. How many staff do you have? How many students are you transporting? What's the size of your fleet?
Yeah, so on our yellow fleet, we actually have 333 buses. We run about 240 routes a day. We also have some midday routes that we run that aren't really in that number. On average, about 22,000 students, AM and PM. I always joke that we move a small city twice a day, every day, and really when you put those numbers together and just how often we touch those kids throughout the school year, we go to school 171 days, and it's over 7 million students that get on our buses throughout a school year, and so it's pretty impressive that we operate as well and as smooth as we do. And I'm on this podcast, but I certainly can't take all the credit for just how amazing our employees are, which total, it's our mechanics and our bus drivers and our attendants and the office staff and all that. We're sitting at about 425 employees. And I think we're the 16th largest school district in the state of Texas. That could be wrong. We may be a little bigger than that. But we're certainly in the top 20 of the largest school districts here in Texas. And it's just it's been a good experience to have won the award and to know that, that we're doing it with the amount of people and the amount of buses that we have moving on the road every day and the amount of students that we're transporting.
Okay. And so, Antonio, I want to go back to you. What really stood out about Klein ISD in that survey? Obviously, they're one of the winners, but can you share a little bit of maybe some of the things that you guys learned about what Klein's doing that maybe some other districts aren't doing and can learn from?
Well, I think one thing is that just from the comments, right? Because obviously we did not interview personally the employees, but based on the forms that they filled out, especially the general comments. And by the way, obviously because they scored high, there's always going to be some edge cases that some people, maybe are not so grateful at being at Klein, but majority of them are saying is that best job that they've ever worked at. They're proud of being part of the organization. These are things that are just comments. But of course, when you start looking at even how likely are you to recommend your organization to a friend, to us, those are a big deal. And 10 is the most you could score. There were a significant amount of 10s. And out of really all of the people that filled out the survey, it was near a 9 out of 10 from everybody that actually submitted these forms. So that's very high. Again, there's a lot of things in here. It's just, if they feel that the pay is fair, again, 1 out of 10, I am happy with my job. But when you look at all these questions together and we grouped them all together, Klein obviously was top 3 in the nation in that size category.
That's excellent. So John, I know, personally, you actually got your start in the military, right? So you, unlike some, transportation leaders, you didn't start driving a school bus right out of college or shortly thereafter. You were actually in the Marine Corps. So take us kind of through that experience. I know then you actually spent some time working at an airport, and your background is maintenance. Kind of take us through your professional experience and how it shaped your leadership to try to, affect and influence positive culture.
Yeah. So, I tell people at the time, one of the greatest things I ever did was join the Marine Corps. I spent 20 years total in there. 12 of it was on active duty, 3 combat tours to Iraq. I learned a lot of good leadership traits through that experience. And I also just learned how to treat people as well, and to know that, hey, there's a lot of small things that the Marine Corps does really well, getting to work on time and hard work and showing up and being there for your buddy that's sitting next to you and those kinds of things. And so you learn all those small traits. And then I think just as that leadership developed and as I took other roles, really the first job that I had after I got off of active duty in the Marine Corps was at the DFW airport, and I took a job in maintenance and I was just when I was there, I worked on maintenance equipment. I mean, I was just a maintenance technician, but still, those leadership traits that I originally learned in the Marine Corps taught me how to build relationships and how to treat people and customer service and those little things. And then when I really left the airport environment and started in school business, which I've been in school business about 15 years now, I went to a small district in Cushing, Texas, less than 100 employees, only about I think I had 8 or 9 bus drivers. That's how small we were. And I really was able to take what I just my knowledge that I'd learned in the Marine Corps and things that I had learned at the DFW airport and just in my life in general and put those to good use. And then I had a lot of good mentors along the way. My superintendent that I worked for there and the maintenance director that I worked for underneath here at Klein ISD. I learned a lot of good traits from them. And then it eventually landed me into this position 2 years ago as the director of transportation. And I had transportation experience because of Cushing, certainly on a much smaller scale. But those things that I learned and the knowledge that I had there really helped me when I got into this role. And then, of course, when I got here, we already had good people here. We certainly have done some things different since I've been here, but most of the people that were already here are extremely knowledgeable in the transportation world. And really all I had to do was work on the morale a little bit, and here we are today.
Mm-hmm. So, we often hear when, either in the private sector, when one business or company acquires another, or you have a new leader step in after, a leader's been around for a while, it is that culture and it's the meshing of cultures, right? You obviously brought to the table the way you do things and the way in your outlook. And you were mentioning that you already had really good people there. So what were some of the challenges that you tackled when you jumped on board there at Klein? And maybe some advice you can give to other transportation leaders out there who are either in the midst of a new jump or are looking to make a jump in terms of coalescing the culture.
Yeah, so I took over right after COVID. And so my first year as the director of transportation, we had already downsized a bunch on our staff because we didn't have as many students coming the year before. And when I took over, not only we were already short of staff, but we had to bring back another 20 routes that we didn't have the previous year before. And so driver shortage was a big deal, just as it was, with most districts in North America. Not just Texas. And so I had those. And then a lot of people, when you have a regime change, when, you have new leadership, people get scared and sometimes. And so we had other key positions that had left. I didn't have anybody in payroll, accounts payable, some of those key positions, to get people paid and to keep morale up. And so it was certainly a struggle, but if I was going to tell anybody that's in my position or going to do this, or thinking about taking over a district that's in that kind of position, and nobody could predict that COVID was going to happen, and that we would find ourselves in those kind of shortages. But the biggest thing for me is first off, my district administration believed in me, and they made that clear more often than not, and so. That helps encourage you to fight through some of those 12, 15-hour days that you spend. And really, the biggest thing that I really try to do is just to be seen. And for all of my employees, to include, especially the drivers, is just to be seen. I don't drive as many routes now as I did that first 6 months, but I tried to get on a bus as often as I could and let them know that, hey, I'm here to help you. We're going to do this together. And, school started in August that year. And by November, we were full, which was an amazing accomplishment because talking to other district leaders around our area, that just wasn't just wasn't heard of, especially in 2021 when it was our full year back from COVID.
Absolutely. Wow, you've done a great job there. So Antonio, with the lunch session that I mentioned earlier on July 17th in Reno coming up in a matter of days, is this the type of conversation that you're going to be leading with the 6 winners, kind of talking about, lessons learned and kind of, things that have worked and things that other folks can try to implement?
We definitely will talk about that. Also, we're going to we'll break down some of the questions because some of them are, they're straightforward. For example, for Klein, the highest score on a single question was, I am proud to work here. They received 9 out of 10 on average, and that's huge. So how do people feel proud, right? So these are the type of things that I would love to go around the table saying, well, what makes someone feel proud? Clearly, it's leadership, and it's also enabling people to do better when they come to work. They want to feel like they're doing something better, and they're working as a group. And again, to me, that's huge. So this is the first time I'm even letting John know that that's your best score question. I am proud to work here. Received the highest score, more than from 1 to 10. Would you recommend to a friend or family, your organization? So I just want to tell you that is a big thing. These are the conversations we're going to have. Like, all right, what makes a culture have this, right? So why so many people in your organization feel that they're proud to work here? So these are the type of things that we'll pluck certain things, and of course we'll talk about maybe certain parts overall that didn't other organizations did not score high. Well, what type of recommendation, what advice can you give the audience? Because on average, they didn't. Some organizations did not score so high. We want to really get down and dirty, understand what makes top transportation teams so good.
John, I think it really comes back to trust, right? And back to your military background, trust is probably the ultimate trait that you need to develop within your team, especially if you're in a combat zone. Is that what you've seen in your experience?
Absolutely. I tell my leadership staff all the time, if we can't trust each other, they're certainly not going to trust us. And so we talk about trust, we talk about loyalty, we talk about compassion. Probably the number one word that always comes up every day in a conversation at one time or another is kindness. There's a lot of things that you may not know about transportation or this whole business or whatever, but the one thing that you can do and you can be consistent in is being kind, and people respond to that. Even if someone's in my office and they're in trouble or they haven't had a good month and things aren't going so well for them, you don't have to be a jerk about it. You can be kind to people, and you can talk to people like they're real people, and I think those things make a difference, and not just with me. My whole leadership team, they all understand, that's my one pet peeve, and that's the thing: trust and kindness, and they work very hard to develop those relationships with their bus drivers and mechanics and things as well.
And, before we go, John, it would be remiss if I didn't ask you a little bit about maintenance, because that's your background. Our fleet management issue is coming up in August, just a matter of a few weeks away. I'm curious, obviously, a lot of the talk right now is zero emission school bus, electric. I know there's only a couple in Texas right now. In terms of maintenance, what are you guys looking at with all of the EPA and state regulations on emissions? States, not so much Texas yet, but a lot of states are pushing that zero emissions for school buses. What are you guys using in terms of power in your school buses, and what are you guys looking at over the coming years?
So interesting that you should ask that. Me and my assistant director of fleet services have been having that conversation today even about electric school buses, and does it make sense for us to apply for the current grant that's out there right now, which is that deadline's coming up at the end of the summer, and so we're asking a lot of questions, making sure that that we're doing the right thing for the district too, and that we're not just jumping into something that we don't know anything about. However, it's important. It's important that we do our part for the environment as well, and that we keep those things at the forefront of our minds, but also, keeping the district's best interests at mind as well. And currently, we do not have any electric buses. We're in the conversation of either that or natural gas at the moment. Currently, almost everything we have is diesel, and then we have a small portion of our fleet that's gasoline buses.
Okay. Well, with the Green Bus Summit in Reno coming up, I know you're going to be there in attendance. And so hopefully you get some good information and some good ideas going forward. But, again, thank you to Antonio Civitella, President, CEO, and founder of Transfinder, and John Fergerson, Director of Transportation for Klein ISD in Texas. Looking forward to seeing both of you gentlemen here in a matter of days. And if you want more information on the Transfinder top transportation teams, head over to toptransportationteams.com, just how it sounds there. You spell it toptransportationteams.com, and you can learn more about the inaugural award. And like Antonio was saying earlier, this is going to be an award going forward. So we're going to be really looking forward to working with Transfinder on this award, and hopefully have lots of good conversations in the future. Again, thanks a lot, gentlemen. See you in Reno soon.
All righty. Thank you. I appreciate you.
A special thanks to Ryan, John, and Antonio Civitella for joining us on the podcast today. Great conversation. Love talking about top transportation teams. Guys, excited to see you at STN Expo in Reno. It's coming up so soon, July 14th through the 19th. If you still want to go, we'll register you on site. Just show up. The events team will take care of you. You guys can probably see a few of our sponsors too. We got Transfinder, BYD Ride, and School Radio, all exhibiting at the conference. They'd love to see you, say hi to you. We appreciate you, School Transportation Nation. Guys, go to stnonline.com for all your school transportation needs and coverage of all the things happening around the industry, all that conference coverage that you love, you want. Keep an eye on our social media channels as well. Add us as a friend. We'd love to have you on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook. We're everywhere. Guys, we'll see you next week. We love you, nation.